Today's episode of Shebrew in the City is brought to you by Top Dog Tours. Whether you're visiting Toronto, Boston, Philadelphia, or New York City, we've got something for everybody. Visit us at topdogtours.com to book your tour today and follow us on social media for any special offers and discounts. Hi, I'm Nicole Kelly, and this is Shebrew in the City. And today I'm going to be talking with Amy Kritzer-Becker, who is the co-owner of Modern Tribe and the chef extraordinaire behind the blog What You Want to Eat. Hi, Amy. How are you doing today?
Hi. Great. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to talk to you. I feel like after looking at your social media, like we'd be really good friends.
Oh, thanks. Let's be friends.
Yeah. So I'm excited to talk to you about your businesses and your Jewish background and what being Jewish means to you. So I think the question I start with most of my guests is, what was your Jewish upbringing like? Where did you grow up? What kind of denomination did you grow up in? Did you have a bat mitzvah? Questions, things like that.
Sure. I love answering that question. I grew up in Connecticut, and I would say I grew up very Jewish, but also very secular Jewish. Okay. So I went to public school, but we got off for Jewish holidays because there were so many Jews there. But I did not grow up keeping kosher. I thought kosher was something from biblical times until I was like a teenager. I went to Jewish summer camp in Massachusetts. And I grew up, definitely I had my bat mitzvah. I was confirmed, but my upbringing was a lot of like bagels on Sundays and Hanukkah parties, and we'd go to synagogue for the high holidays, but also like just to see what people were wearing. So it was kind of a that sort of Jewish upbringing. I grew up feeling very Jewish, but also feeling that being Jewish was very normal. And then I went to college in Georgia, and I realized some people had never met a Jewish person before, and had no idea what to expect there. So that was interesting.
It's crazy. We had a company party last night, and one of our employees is from the South, and he said he'd never met somebody who was even a Catholic, let alone a Jew.
That's crazy.
Who have not.
I wouldn't even think about that as like being so different either, which is crazy.
I know, it's crazy. Did the synagogue that you grew up in, was it Reform? Was it conservative?
Yeah, I grew up going to a Reform synagogue. It was a large, beautiful synagogue, a lot of stained glass. I really enjoyed my time going there for Hebrew school and Sunday school, and I had my bat mitzvah there. So definitely a positive experience.
I grew up conservative, which I feel like the par for the course from I hear a lot of people is I grew up conservative, but we weren't religious, which is kind of like a weird kind of thing. So I went to Hebrew school 2 times a week for 2 hours, and then like every other Sunday. How often did you go to Hebrew school?
I think ours was just once a week. Okay. I think it was on Tuesdays or Thursdays, depending on the year. And then Sundays, I guess we had Sunday school too. So Hebrew school was just leading up to your bar bat mitzvah. I think initially it was just once a week. But it was also a social thing. You could see all your friends.
I was very religious growing up. My mom talks about how she thought I was going to be like a rabbi or a cantor, but my sister always.
Oh, wow.
I went to socialize. And
I like to be honest about my upbringing, and I'm obviously very proud of being Jewish. It's my whole business now. But I think some people, like especially people who grew up less, I don't even like to say religious. I like to say observant, kind of apologize. That. Yeah, they like to apologize for how they are. And I'm like, you're still Jewish. It's totally okay if you don't keep kosher or if you don't go to synagogue at all. And there's other ways to celebrate being Jewish. If they're more meaningful to you, then that's all that matters.
I was having a conversation with one of the cantors at our synagogue about being on the podcast, and he was like, I talk to a lot of people who say I'm a bad Jew. Like that's, like I don't do this or I do this. And I feel like I can't speak for other religions, but I feel like especially in Judaism, there's kind of like a litmus test of like how religious you are. It's like, well, I don't keep kosher, but like I keep kosher. So that obviously means this. And there's like a lot of outside pressures to do all sorts of things. So I like that you're like, there are a lot of different ways to be Jewish. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. Like
definitely. And I'm friends with people who are all different levels of observance. And I think that's what makes being Jewish kind of beautiful and interesting too.
No, I definitely agree with that. So a lot of people listening will be familiar with the company that you and your brother own, Modern Tribe. How exactly did that come about? I know you said you didn't start the company, you took over it. So what was that process?
Yeah, so I'll start a little bit with my blog. I have my blog, What Do You Want to Eat, that I started. What was that now? Almost 13 years ago. Oh, it's my bat mitzvah year. Yeah, yeah. So I started that, and I can talk a little bit more about how that was going. And so 7 years ago, I had my blog. I was doing sponsored content. I was just starting on my cookbook, so it was like going pretty well for sure. And I saw that Modern Tribe was for sale, and I had known the previous owner just through like Jewish geography, and I was one of her affiliates, and she had sent an email out saying she really wanted someone passionate to be the owner. And I just felt this draw towards this, even at the time, social media was becoming more popular, and I just did not want to be rely on being an influencer as like my whole career, like I was feeling the pressure to make money. So I'm like, should I be promoting toilet paper, like, or like, can I be a little pickier? Like, where am I falling into this? Do I just accept everything that comes my way? Yeah. And I had these modern Jewish recipes that were twists on what I grew up eating, but felt more, in line with how I ate today. So I was like, oh, I have these recipes. I think the products to go with it could be really a cool next step in my business. So I approached my brother about buying it with me. I've always been like the creative, artistic, like I quit my job to go to culinary school. Like, I moved to Texas on a whim. And my brother is like much more practical. So I was like, do you want to buy this business with me? And luckily, to my surprise, he said, after obviously doing research, he said yes. So we've owned Modern Tribe for 7 years, and it's been wonderful to working with my brother. My parents obviously are kvelling that we own a Judaica store, like, right? But it's brought us, we've always been close, but it's brought us even closer. And we've just completely rehauled the store. From the previous owner did all the fulfillment herself. Mm-hmm. We moved to a warehouse. We've redesigned the site. We have like 1,000 different products than the previous owner had as well. So we've really made it our own, and it has a lot of our personality in it as well. So it's become really a passion of mine, and I just love hearing from customers and my blog readers who have become customers, who are just thinking that it kind of goes along with fitting Judaica into your life, being Jewish in a way that makes sense for you. So you're like, I never found a mezuzah that I liked, and now I have this Kate Spade one. I'm like, yes, that's great. If this is a mezuzah that you want, that makes you feel connected to your Judaism, then I'm glad that I was able to find it for you.
I love that, obviously with the name Modern Tribe, but I feel like a lot of Judaica is very like something you would find in your grandparents' house. There's a Judaica store in the neighborhood, and it's very much like that. Like, it's all like sterling silver candlesticks, and
which is beautiful. And there's definitely a place for that. Yeah.
But I think people, like my sister, tends to like mid-century modern type furniture and decoration.
Yeah, me too.
So I think it's nice that there's a lot of that on the website. I love that you started the company with your brother and that it's brought you closer, because I feel like sometimes running a business with somebody can be a little chaotic and stressful.
I know every year we're out at our anniversary of buying the company, which is in the summer. We're like, this really could have not, we didn't really think about it like not working out, if like one of us wasn't pulling our weight or if we were fighting about things. But luckily we have very complementary skills and we trust the other person. So it's been a really good partnership for sure.
I think that's one of the reasons why the walking tour company my husband and I own operates as well as it does, is because, like you said, we have complementary kind of skills. And I feel like that's super important to that.
Definitely.
Speaking of Modern Tribe, I love the fact, like you said, you have like 1,000 products. I love that there's literally everything from a blow up unicorn for your lawn, which I love.
If I had a lawn, I would definitely.
I know, moving problems. To really amazing fine jewelry. I know you work with a lot of different artists and brands. How do you go about choosing who you offer on your website?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that sets apart our site, is that we have items you can't find anywhere else. So we have people apply to sell on our site. Luckily, we get a lot of applications, and it'll be someone, they're a teacher by day, and they make, like Jewish mezuzahs, or they make mezuzahs or Jewish jewelry by night. And it's just like a passion of theirs. And like, I love to have, and they don't know how to market themselves. Maybe they're on Etsy. And I love like having those types of artists on our site. It just makes it really unique. It's really helping out small businesses, and it's just working with creative, interesting people. And I love like working with the people. But, that's definitely a challenge, because you're working with, we work with over 100 different artists. I'm always communicating. They have different ways of ordering, different ways of sending things. So that's definitely a big part of my job, and a big challenge. But honestly, if it's anything that I like, I want it on the site. And and it's not everything on the site is like 100% my style, but if I'm like, all right, this is something I could see people loving, then I want it.
You have most of the stuff that's on the site, because I feel like I don't own a business that has actual products, but I feel like if I did, my house would just be everything from my business.
I do have, I have like a box for every holiday with stuff, and then I have in my closet. So my office is also my closet. If you can see, these are like clothes. But we do have like a separate closet here that has like all my, evergreen Judaica, if you will, the stuff that I use all year. And then I have a box for every holiday that I take out. Hanukkah's the biggest, so I, could decorate the apartment. But I do not live in a large space, so I don't have an attic or a garage I could store tons and tons of Judaica. So luckily, I'll get samples of things and I can donate them sometimes, or I'll do giveaways. And I can't, you can only have so many Shabbat candlesticks.
I feel like we moved into a different apartment last year, and the old apartment had more space to put like holiday tchotchkes, and now I don't have that, and I'm very sad.
So it's sad. Yeah, we have some beautiful this is a very old apartment. We have some beautiful built-ins, so I do love that. And we have 2 non-working fireplaces, so I put all my menorahs on there and stuff. So we have some space to spread out, but not as much as I would like.
City problems. What are your favorite stuff that you offer? I, as my husband is producing and listening to this, I really like the Diamond Star of David necklace that says love, and the
that was so popular.
I know, it's very popular. I love it so much. And then of course the challah necklace, because
I'm wearing it today. You can't really necklace? See. Yeah, I was like, so I was gonna wear earrings. I was gonna wear my Ariel Tidhar giant Star of David glitter earrings, and I forgot I was gonna wear headphones, so I couldn't wear those. So I was like, those are one of my. We don't offer those right now, but she has them on her site. But we offer other Ariel Tidhar items. But this challah necklace, I love, because it combines my love of Jewish food and obviously Jewish jewelry. I have a lot of jewelry, and jewelry does not take up a lot of space.
Yeah, correct.
So that's something that I have a lot of. I have another, it's like a floating Star of David that's diamond that I love too. It's just really delicate. That's by Aleph Bet. That's one of my favorite items. You mentioned the inflatable unicorn. We also have the dinosaur, the Dinoka. Both of those I'm obsessed with, and I wasn't sure how it would do. Like, do people want a 6 or 7 foot tall
on their lawn
inflatable item that says I'm Jewish in their front yard? And apparently they do, because you can have it inside too. You do not need to put it in your front lawn if you don't feel comfortable with that. But a lot of people did, and they sent us pictures, and I love that. So I love the
weird obsession with dinosaurs and Judaism that I feel like I'm finding kind of a cross section of this. Like, there's songs about a Shabbat dinosaur, and I've seen
we have a dinosaur menorah too. Yes, there is a thing. I don't know what it is. It's like, maybe because it sounds so good, like Dinoka. I don't know. I'm not sure what it is, but you're right. I have to research that more.
You guys sell a lot of holiday items. What is your busiest time of year? Is it Hanukkah? Is it the high holidays?
Yeah, we have. Luckily, the Jewish holidays really worked out well for my business in terms of they're spread out evenly. So Hanukkah is by far the busiest. So right now we're in like the middle of craziness. I'm not sure when this is going to air, but Hanukkah is very busy. I think because it's just a very joyous time of year. And everyone's always like, it's a minor holiday. I'm like, yeah, but who cares? Like, if people are happy and it's like a time to give gifts, and people love, like, I think for Passover, you can have one Seder plate. People will have multiple menorahs in different styles, and they love just lighting all of them. And people will send me pictures, and they'll have like 8 menorahs lit. And I'm like, it's a mild fire hazard, but it's beautiful. And it's just, I think it just brings a lot of Jewish joy, which I think we especially need this year. And people are really, looking at ways to still be like, I'm proud of being Jewish, and I want to celebrate even amongst hard times. So Hanukkah is definitely our busiest, I think, because people are buying ritual objects and also gifts. Then Passover is the second busiest. I think we don't sell, Seder plates. You can only have so many, but every year I think people are wanting to buy fun things to have at Seder, whether it's 10 plagues, headbands, or, something fun like that, matzah leggings to be comfortable. And then Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot would be the third most popular in terms of purchasing. So not in terms of holidays.
At least for me, being a millennial Jewish child, obviously it's usually around the same time as Christmas, but thinking about like a time as a kid where you couldn't buy stuff for yourself. So Hanukkah was obviously a big time where you would get presents. So I think maybe there's a little bit of nostalgia there. And that's one of the reasons that American Jews love Hanukkah
I'm
so
a millennial
much,
too. I think we love nostalgia.
Yeah.
Like, of course, I would go through like the Delia's catalog and like circle,
Oh,
everything I wanted
Delia's,
for Hanukkah. Yeah.
So fun story about Delia's. I went to a JCC camp when I was 14, and there was a girl who, this is so terrible. She had used her mother's credit card to buy a bunch of stuff from the Delia's catalog and had it delivered to camp.
Oh, that's creative. I had to beg to go to Abercrombie on like what do you call it, the visiting day.
Yes. So she had like all this stuff delivered to her, and I was like horrified and impressed that she had pulled this off. That like, because clearly like her mom didn't want her to have this clothing or whatever, and she's like, fine, well then I will steal from you and have it delivered to camp.
That didn't even occur to me, so I don't.
Yeah, I know. I was just kind of like, that's not even something that I would have thought about, but I used to love the Delia's catalog.
I'm just nostalgic about catalogs in general, and like we would circle everything. And although now that I have a daughter who's almost 1, and like of course probably through my phone, like the internets know that you have a kid. So I start there's catalogs. So now I'm getting catalogs for like toys and American Girl dolls. And I'm like, oh, finally, this is great.
This is another question I hadn't thought about. If someone was interested in becoming more Jewish and trying to add Judaica to their Jewish home, what would be the first things that you would suggest they get if they had basically nothing?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I mean, I think to celebrate the holidays, you want, the certain ritual objects, and then Shabbat too. So if you want to like start with Shabbat's, that's every week. So, but like, what do you really need? Okay. Do you need a challah board? No, you can use anything. Do you need a challah cover? Probably not. I would get some Shabbat candlesticks and some candles. I think that you could use any cup for a Kiddush cup. Start with that. Get a menorah, maybe a mezuzah if that speaks to you. Do you need a Seder plate for Passover? No, you can use a plate and like just any plate and just have the different items on there. You don't need a matzah cover. You don't need an afikoman bag. But I mean, all these things are fun. So and I sell them, so you should buy them. But I don't think, I think you need the minimal ritual objects to be able to participate. So just kind of think, what kind of things are you looking to do? Are you looking to do the high holidays? Are you looking to host a Passover Seder? Are you looking just to do Shabbat every now and again? Maybe you just want to get a good recipe for challah and some candlesticks, and then you're good to go.
I saw a video on Instagram of your mom literally giving you a gift from your company. Does she really do her gift shopping?
Oh, yes, she does. People joke, people are like, oh, what kind of advertising do you do? And I'm like, oh, I just tell my mom and my grandma when we have new products, and they tell everyone they know, and that's how it goes. So I mean, they're typical Jewish women who are very proud of their kids and grandkids, and my mom does a lot of shopping. I give her gift cards, so she's like, you can use the gift card, and you can, you don't have to like use your own money. She's like, no, I want to support you. So, but she buys. We have a product that's a wooden block named menorah that's very popular for kids. Mm-hmm. So she buys one for every new grandchild that she knows that's born. So that's as soon as she finds out the name, she's on getting the menorah. And she buys gifts for other people too, but she did buy me that necklace. So I was like, oh, I got to record this. And that was when we did some videos for Food Network together. So that was, our hair and makeup was already done. So I was like, let's just do this while we're here right now. And we look our best.
So I have to ask about the $36,000 kippah. Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, you have to go to moderntribe.com and check this out. So according to your site, it is made with navy leather from Italy, custom sewn by an expert kippah maker in Australia. The 14-karat white gold is cast in Mumbai, and the diamonds are placed on the leather in Chicago. It takes 40 hours to hand place the 873 diamonds, and it takes 6 months to make. It also comes with its own display case, which I love. I need to know the story behind this, and more importantly, I need to know, has anyone bought this?
So yeah, no one has bought one yet. But I think, my brother and I are always talking about new creative ideas, and we just had like, why can't we have like the ultimate? I think we were talking about maybe other ritual objects out there that are like extreme, and we're like, I don't know, it just came to us like we should have this amazing diamond kippah. And then he knows a jeweler, so we reached out and then we collaborated on this. Who actually he worked with to get his wife's engagement ring. So, kind of a full circle Jewish moment, and we kind of collaborated on this together. It just was something fun to have, kind of create a little press from. We got featured at a few news outlets, and I think some people were like, this is really ridiculous, like this is the opposite of being Jewish, and other people were like, this is amazing, this makes me proud to be Jewish. So I think maybe it's a little controversial, but it was all in good fun, and we could definitely still make one for, I think it's perfect for a wedding. I think I'm picturing like an over the top wedding, one of those like chuppahs that have just like flowers everywhere, like that's I think that the groom needs this. Or
yes, I'm actually surprised no one has bought this. I feel like there's a lot of very wealthy people that buy things that are very unique like this.
Yeah, so there's a market for it for sure. So we just maybe haven't found the right owner yet, but we're here when they're ready.
Well, if you're listening and you're in the market for a very ornate kippah, you know where to go now.
Exactly.
We're gonna kind of switch to talking a little bit about your blog and your cookbook now. So I love the story on your website, What You Want to Eat, that you wanted to challenge yourself to try something new, and you asked your bubby to send you her best recipes, and a few days later you got literally hundreds of recipes in the mail, which was probably a little bit overwhelming. How did you know where to start? What did you decide to start with? How did that work?
Yeah, so I'd moved from New York City, where I lived after college. I moved to Austin, Texas, kind of on a whim during the recession of whatever year, what year was that? 2009. So I was like, I need a change of pace. But then I found my job there wasn't as creative as my job in New York. So I was reading a lot of blogs at the time, which were just getting more popular, food blogs. And I decided to start my own. And again, I approached my brother to help me build a website because I didn't know how, and he's very technical. And at the time, I was going to do a cupcake blog. That was my first idea because I love to make cupcakes for different theme parties that I would host for my friends. So I'd have like a 90s party and some yin yang cupcakes, and that was my thing.
Gosh. I love cupcakes. Yes, that's like all
I know. Yeah, it was like very peak 2010. Yeah, but I still love cupcakes. They're perfect. So
there's nothing not to love about a cupcake, I think.
I agree. So maybe I'll still start my cupcake blog one day. But that was my first idea. My brother said it was not a good idea, and I would get tired of making cupcakes. And it was his idea to do Jewish food. And to me, so I lived in my town in Connecticut with a lot of Jews. I lived in New York City. I did briefly go to college, not briefly. I went to college in Atlanta, but I still had a good Jewish community there, and it was Emory, so there's Jews there. But so then when I moved to Texas, I was like, Jewish food just seemed normal to me, and I realized that people had just not had the kind of food that I grew up with. So I was like, all right, this is something I think I would love to share. No one's had a knish here. And no one even, latke, they're like, oh, you mean hash brown? I'm like, no, there's kind of, but no.
And there's a difference between latkes and potato pancakes, and I'm adamant about that.
Yes, I think so too. Yeah, I think potato pancakes are more, uniform, I think, when I think of that, but I'm not sure what you think.
I think for me, it more has to do with mashed potatoes versus shredded potatoes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I think is kind of how I feel about that. Like I went to Katz's with a coworker and they were advertising them as latkes. And I was like, this is not latkes. This is like fried mashed potatoes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is more, I guess when I was thinking uniform, that is kind of what I was thinking too. Like maybe somewhere in between with some shreds and some mushy parts. Yeah, but I like my latkes like super crispy. But anyway, I digress. So I didn't really know where to start. And my bubby's the kind of person, if you're like, I have a new hobby, I think I'm gonna start playing tennis. She'll go to Marshall's and buy tennis, buy you a tennis balls, buy you a tennis skirt, and she'll send it in the mail. She's like, I got you stuff. So I was like, I'm gonna take up cooking, and she sent me all, she went to Marshall's and got me spatulas and cherry pitters and everything. And I was like, I'd love some of your recipes. So she had my mom scan them, like they're all on index cards, and
of course
they're really not recipes. It'll be like brisket, season it, cook it. Maybe there's a can of soup, whatever the French onion soup mix in the mix. And I was like, well, this is not a recipe. So I had to connect the dots, call her to get some, more feedback. But even like that, she was like, it's done when it's done. I'm like, what does that mean? But then I went to culinary school, and that is also what they say in culinary school. And I was like, what? Someone tell me how long this takes to cook. But then I learned to kind of more what that means. And for my blog, I have to be a little more specific on the time, even if it's a range of time.
I never understand the ranges. Because I don't cook at all.
Oh.
I will go to Trader Joe's and get like one of those rosemary marinated chickens, and it'll say 60 to 75 minutes. And I'm like, that is a 15-minute difference.
Just because ovens are so different. Yeah, I mean, like that's the tricky part. I mean, some stuff like maybe chicken is like could be forgiving, but like cookies, you want to. It's also how well you like them done. But like a cake can take a little longer depending on your oven, depending on your altitude and stuff. So you do have to have a little bit of a range.
Altitude affects, I guess that makes sense that altitude would affect cooking time. I never really thought about that.
I mean, in measurements too. So if you're cooking somewhere like in Denver or something, it kind of changes how you're baking specifically. But
everything's different.
And cooking, when I cook not for my blog, I don't measure. I'm not, I'm not setting a timer. I'm just like tasting and seeing how it goes.
My husband's like that.
Yeah.
He kind of just, he's like, he creates he's amazing. He creates these things, like he'll see what we have and he'll make it, whereas like I literally can't boil water properly. So
it's good. You only need one cook in the family, so that's great that you have your husband. Do you like to clean or no?
I don't. I like cleaning more now that we have a dishwasher in our apartment.
Yeah, that's a must.
We got a portable dishwasher in our old apartment when our daughter was born, and it was like a marriage saving thing.
I don't think I could live without a dishwasher. Or a washer and dryer was like a must for me too.
We don't have a washer and dryer right now, but we do have a washer and dryer in the building.
Okay,
which is helpful.
That's fine. But yeah.
But as you know, in New York, you have made it if you have an in-unit washer and dryer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That is how you know you have made it. I feel like people have started relationships because the other person they met had a washer and dryer.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Like, obviously,
a garbage disposal in your sink that I would like. Yeah.
You know what I found out is garbage disposals were outlawed in New York until 1980. I think in like 1985 or 1986, which is why no one has garbage disposal.
That's crazy.
It was like literally against the law. And I think my husband sometimes forgets we don't have a garbage disposal because he'll be like peeling something, and I'll go to clean. There's just like a bunch of carrot peelings.
Oh no!
Like in the sink. Like we don't have a garbage disposal.
Oh yeah, when I moved out of New York and got a garbage disposal, I was like, that is life changing.
It's kind of impressive how when you live in a city like New York, the little things that you don't even realize are things in the suburbs are a big deal in New York City.
Oh, definitely.
It's so funny. So talking about culinary school, you left your corporate job to go to culinary school at Le Cordon Bleu in Austin, Texas. What was culinary school like? As I said, I'm not someone who really cooks. I can make maybe like 3 dishes. Mm-hmm. So this process sounds really daunting. And I'm curious what it was like, what the application process was like. And, I remember I took cooking in high school and I cleaned. I was the one who did the dishes in the group. But our teacher talked about like having to learn how to cut certain ways and being graded on how you cut certain things. Is that something that you had to do?
Yeah, I loved culinary school. So when my blog started to like get a little more popular, I realized I wanted to do something food related full time, but I couldn't. I wasn't making any money on my blog, so I couldn't just like quit and like figure it out. And obviously, I needed to make some money, and my parents would freak out. But I was like, they would not freak out if I go get more schooling. So I was like, this is So I was like, I'll go back to school. My parents won't freak out about that. And later I found out they were freaking out a little bit, but they didn't. But they were very supportive and. So the culinary school I went to, I don't think they reject anyone. I think anyone can go. So it was an intensive 1-year program. And there was everyone from like recent high school graduates, like 18-year-olds in my program, to people like in their 60s that there was like, this is just something they've always wanted to do. So that was super fun to me. I just like loved the mix of people and personalities. And then we had, it was maybe every 6 weeks you switched classes. So first there were knife skills, and then you were, learn sauces, all the mother sauces, the basic, there's just sauces that are the base of everything in French cooking that we make. And then, there was a class all on meats, and then we had pastry and stuff. So every class was like more something specific that we were learning. And then there was like an international cuisines class. So I loved it. We were just going in and cooking all day. And then I worked at a supermarket doing cooking demos and cooking classes part-time. So that's how I made money. And I also worked at a bar selling Jell-O shots. So that was really how I made money. The supermarket did not pay well, but I loved working there. It was super fun. So that was kind of my life for a year. It was like very intense. I was working a lot between going to school and working actually. But I loved it, and I thought it was like, it just taught me a lot about cooking and techniques more than recipes. So you were saying, like, how does a recipe have like 60 to 75 minutes? Like, how do I know? Like, when I was like practicing cooking this way, you kind of just get used to seeing how it should look, and then that's how you know. And which is kind of what my bubby said. What they say in culinary school is you just kind of get used to not having it be an exact time. Or when you're cooking onions in the saute pan, you're not like, all right, has it been 6 to 7 minutes? You're just like, all right, they look the way I want them to look.
They look
yeah. So I think that was a lot. And like, why do we braise brisket instead of saute it? Which like that kind of stuff is then you kind of figure out like how to make recipes because the science behind it more than just like assuming or like basing it off of a recipe.
I've always wondered how recipes were made.
Yeah.
I see my husband going, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. The kind of trial and error of how you want something to look, and
yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, my husband likes to cook. We both like to cook. Neither of us like to clean, which is maybe an annoying thing. But everyone's always like, "Oh, your husband must be so lucky to be married to you." I'm like, no, he does like more of the cooking than I do, and he's really into like experimenting with different techniques to get like how do you get chicken crispier, and how do you get eggplant less bitter. So he's always trying new things that he reads about or like sees a video on. So I love that too. That part of cooking.
That's so nice that you guys have that passion that you share. And I've yet to find someone who's like, yes, I love to do the cleaning.
That's true. No one likes the cleaning. We both clean. He does more of the cooking, honestly, these days because we have a young daughter. So I feed her, he feeds me. It's a nice circle there.
It's a good system. I'm sure there is somebody who loves cleaning. I feel like the dad in Full House was obsessed.
Danny Tanner likes, yeah. My mom actually loves cleaning. My mom's a good cleaner. When she visits, she loves to clean our kitchen for us, and I never complain. So she's a baker more than a cook, but she's also a really good cleaner. So I'll say that.
Is that her?
I did not. It's not genetic. It did not pass down to me.
No. So your blog is about Jewish food.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this is something that we give a Lower East Side tour, and talking about Jewish food, exactly what that means. I think maybe it means different things to different people. So if you met someone who'd never tried Jewish food, didn't really know what it was, what would you tell them? How would you explain what Jewish food is?
I think Jewish food can be a little hard to define. And when I first started my blog, like I grew up, on East Coast of the United States. My family is very Ashkenazi. I did my 23andMe. It's like you're 94% Ashkenazi, and that was less than I thought. I was like, what? What's the rest of me?
Really? I've never even bothered because I feel like it'd be a moot point because it'd be like, congratulations.
Yeah, now my DNA's out there, but yeah, we have a little Greek and a little Italian, but it's like the rest is.
The Greek might be because around the time of Christ, a lot of Greeks converted to Judaism. And I feel like they ended up moving into Europe. And that's why a lot of Ashkenazi Jews look Greek. So that might be what it is. Yeah, it was
still like connected. But so I grew up like very Ashkenazi. All the food was Ashkenazi. So I wasn't as familiar with like Sephardic and Mizrahi flavors until I started my blog. So I think, you have Jewish food it's obviously like the rules of keeping kosher have dictated some of the food, even though we didn't keep kosher growing up, but we like never ate pork. And like, I remember I went to my friend's house and she had a glass of milk with a hamburger. And I was like, that is the weirdest thing. And I don't know why I thought that was so weird. It was just, it was just like probably no one taught my mom, no one taught my grandma, no one taught my great grandma, so there's like these kosher laws that I think, even if we didn't keep kosher, have dictated Jewish recipes. And then there's all the holidays and rituals. So we have challah for Shabbat, latkes for Hanukkah. And then, of course, different, Jews from different countries have different rituals as well. And then I think there's, Jewish food that has evolved as we've had to live in different places, as we've gotten forced to live in different places. So I have, Jewish friends who grew up in Mexico who put chilies in their matzo ball soup. So I think, it's evolved. It's evolved that way too. So we have, these recipes that have been passed down, that have evolved with like different food customs and different, cultures that we've been exposed to as well. So I think it really makes for a unique cuisine. I think it makes for a cuisine that people are like, there's no Jewish food, which I think is something we hear a lot too. But I think food could definitely overlap. Food could be Jewish and also can be, Middle Eastern or like, Lebanese, or can be Greek. I think Italian. It can be both of those things. I think if you understand that, then you can be really open to what Jewish food is.
Do you have a favorite, I guess we would call traditional Ashkenazi Jewish food?
Yeah, I love Ashkenazi food. I think it gets a bad reputation, and I'm like, it's very brown, I think, and
Yes.
I always add more. I like to think my ancestors, so they had access to more spices, would use more spices. I love using spices, but I mean, I love chopped liver. I love latkes. I love matzo ball soup. I love all these things are very delicious. I love stuffed cabbage. Well, really, there's not much. I love gefilte fish. There's not much I don't love. So, I'll say I like gefilte fish. I don't eat it like all year.
No. It's definitely one of those things that when Passover came around, I was very excited to see it because my aunt would have these huge seders with like 30, my great aunt with 30 plus people, and they'd put like a little salad with gefilte fish at each place setting, and you just have to sit and look at it at the first part of the seder. So I think because I was so hungry, I kind of maybe overinflated how good gefilte fish was.
I don't know. Yeah, I like it. Did it have a little carrot on top? I like the carrot.
It had a little carrot.
Yeah.
And but I always had two because the people who were setting would know whether a person would want one or two, and I'd always ask for two. But it wasn't like I'd eat gefilte fish just like,
and the horseradish. I like it. I think it's just, I don't know why it gives such a bad reputation. It's just like a fish patty, which is not that weird.
Yeah, I guess it's an acquired taste. Yeah. Did you growing up have nuts in your haroset at Passover?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we did. I think walnuts. Yeah, we did like diced apples. So yeah, I did like haroset can be like so many different types, right? So we did diced apples. I can't remember, probably brown. I can't remember if it was brown or white sugar, cinnamon, Manischewitz wine, walnuts, and I think that was it. I
know not everyone uses nuts, so
so there's probably like a million different ways you could do haroset. Some people did it more like shredded apples, ground, then obviously just like the ones Sephardic with like dates and that kind of thing in it too. So I think it can be a lot of different things. And now I like to like toast my toast my walnuts sometimes too to give it a little extra flavor. I've used candied nuts too, is really good.
Oh,
so different spices. But yeah, I love haroset too.
I'm excited about haroset, which is not afraid of cooking people very often.
No, also but I think there's something special about saving. I'm like, why don't I make latkes all year? I'm like, there's something special about having it just for the specific holiday too.
I think that's one of the things that I loved about Passover, and why in my family Thanksgiving was never really a big thing, because I think Passover was the big communal eating holiday.
Yeah, we didn't care about Thanksgiving.
Where my husband's family, Thanksgiving is a very big deal. So it was interesting marrying into his family, where Thanksgiving is like he will baste the turkey for multiple. He'll literally buy like a bucket from the dollar store and put all sorts of stuff in there and baste it. And he's the only person I've ever met that makes a turkey that isn't dry.
Oh, well, and I'm not great.
It's very impressive. But much a bigger holiday for his family. But I feel like growing up with Passover, that kind of superseded
that's interesting.
Which I don't know.
I had never thought about that. But yeah, Thanksgiving was also not important to me growing up. And I think we always had like a big Rosh Hashanah and like definitely a big Passover Seder. And then I like to do that growing up as well. I think during the pandemic, we didn't do anything for Thanksgiving. So we ordered Peking duck, and then that became our new tradition. So now we've gotten just Chinese food since the year 2000 for things. I guess it's not that many years. But, we started the year before. Actually, so the year before, I got married in 2019, and we were going on our honeymoon right after Thanksgiving, so we weren't going anywhere for Thanksgiving. Right. So we ordered Peking. We went out for Peking duck that year, and then we just continued every year. So that is our new tradition. We have Chinese food on Thanksgiving and Christmas.
That's what I was saying. You also have Chinese food on Christmas.
Yes. And, yeah, but it's nice you and your husband don't have to fight where to go for Thanksgiving. Like it sounds like his family's where to go. So.
Yeah, always a his family thing. I wonder if for a lot of Jews, Thanksgiving isn't as big of a deal, is because a lot of our holidays are kind of revolving around food, and it becomes a big part of that. So maybe Thanksgiving as like an American holiday kind of becomes secondary.
Yeah,
I'll have to ask.
Yeah, maybe between like the high holidays and like Hanukkah, you're like another holiday, like So you're like, I don't need to do this.
Starting in September and kind of ending in January, if you're Jewish, it becomes like a plethora of just food and holidays.
Yeah,
and
there's some like cheesy meme where it's like cooking a Thanksgiving dinner for like 30. It's like I do this every Friday night, like kind of a thing. So it's like Jews are used to cooking feast, I think.
I want to talk about your wedding challah because it was gorgeous, but there was also a bit of a journey.
Yes.
You did a rainbow challah for your wedding, and you made it with your bubby. And I know she was a huge inspiration for you getting involved with cooking. So what was that like to make that with her? What was the process of getting the challah to the wedding, and why did you choose a rainbow challah?
Yeah, so we got engaged in May 2019. My husband and I were living in Puerto Rico at the time. And we decided to get married.
I'm going to ask you about that after this
we decided
question.
to get married in Detroit, where he's from originally, because it was just an easy, like, we like Detroit. We have a lot of his friends and family are there, but it was easy for everyone else to get to. Like, I have family on the East and West Coast. There was direct flights for everyone. So it seemed like a good, convenient thing. So we were like, all right, it's going to get cold here. So we either plan this wedding now or we like wait a year. And luckily, because we didn't know the pandemic was coming, we decided to pick now. So we got married in September, like 4 months later. So it was kind of, kind of a whirlwind. Yeah, like maybe I am religious. I don't know. But people were like, that's crazy. And then my observant friends were like, that's so long, So I think it depends on, it was nice, I think, because it narrowed things down. You just had to pick things, right?
Yeah, you didn't have a lot of time to
done. So, it was important to me to add our personality in as many things as we could. But it was, we were flying into the wedding, so there's only so much you could like physically do. And my mom had the idea to make the challah, and I was like, I love that, but like, when am I going to do it? Like, I don't want the stress before the wedding. And she was like, I was going to Connecticut to try on some wedding dresses. So she's like, why don't we make it? We'll freeze it and I'll bring it to the wedding. And I was like, all right. And so the rainbow challah was one of the early recipes I did. I always was like putting twists on my recipes. So, when I was making challah, I was like, I can't just do a normal challah. And I've always just like loved rainbow things and unicorns and glitter. It's just like always been a part of my personality. So, I was making a 6-strand challah. I was like, why can't each one be a different color, like a rainbow? And I think I Googled it. I think there was like maybe one other reference to a rainbow challah on the internet. Or maybe not even. I don't think this was like, like 12 years ago. So it was like a lot less stuff on the internet. So I was like, oh, no one's done this. I should do it. Or maybe someone did like a colorful challah. So I did that. And it was always like one of my signature things. I made it all the time. I made a challah for a lesbian wedding that, that wanted that. I just like loved how inclusive it really felt like it kind of symbolized my brand and who I am as a person too. It's like colorful and fun, but also inclusive and also Jewy. I just loved it. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do a rainbow challah. I was like, of course, my bubby has to help. And we didn't really make challah a lot growing up, to be honest, but we did, her matzo soup, delightful, her rugala, her blintzes, those were her signature recipes. But she was happy to help me make the challah. And it was just like a meaningful full circle moment too, since she helped me when I was starting my blog. So we made the challah, froze it, and my mom carried it on the plane flying to Detroit from Connecticut like it was like a baby, like holding it. She's like, I got the goods. And then it defrosted on the way there, and everyone said it was delicious. I didn't even get to try it because I was it's your wedding day. I was like running around like crazy, but my friends who are honest to me said it was good, so it worked out.
I love that you found a way to like you were saying, make it personal.
Yeah.
And I feel like I would never make my own food at my wedding.
Yeah, I didn't make like my own cake or anything. I'm not crazy. Yeah.
There's people who make their own cakes, and I think this was a nice kind of happy medium.
Yeah. I think I love to cook, and it's an important part of my life, but it didn't stress me out. I wasn't trying to like cook 2 days before my wedding or anything.
Yeah. That would be too much. So a big part of what you do is you take traditional foods and you turn them into amazing, unique things like Reuben latkes and bialy hamantashen, which I am definitely going to be attempting to make. I don't know if it'll turn out good. Where do these ideas come from? Are they inspired by things you grew up with, or just kind of brain, musings about what you think might be interesting?
Yeah, I mean, everything, I think they're inspired if I'm like going out to eat and I try a new flavor combination I haven't tried before. I'm like, oh, that would actually make a really good hamantashen. I'm like, oh, I had this like lemon lavender cake. I'd love that as a hamantashen. So that, traveling, like reading different recipes, I'll just like pick up, I'm like, just an idea here and there. I'm like, oh, someone did, a bagel like crouton. I'm like, what about a challah crouton? What if I did it with za'atar on it? I just kind of like pinballs from there I don't know, it flows from there. So I have, my notes section of my phone. I just always have different notes going, and some of them don't make sense. Just like, they're just like flavors and ideas and things that I think would work together. The nice thing about having a Jewish food blog is that there's always a holiday coming up. I've been a little less consistent with the blogging since I had my daughter. It just, I was like, all right, I can't like do everything 100% right now. But I would always do at least, when I first started my blog, I did a new recipe every week. So that was intense. But luckily there's always, a holiday. So like maybe Hanukkah's coming up. I'm like, I definitely need to do a twist on a latke, which is like something I do every year. So I'll kind of think of, maybe it's a Jewish flavor that goes with latkes, like, maybe it's an everything bagel latke, or maybe it's just a food trend too. That's what's like a trend right now, or I don't even know. So something that's going around on TikTok. I'm like, how can I make that a little Jewish too? So yeah, like a few years ago, I did the fried pickle latke, which was just inspired by, like, Jews love pickles. I love pickles. And that's one of my favorite bar snacks. And I was surprised no one had done a fried pickle latke. I always try to find things that no one's ever done before. And it's getting a lot harder. Like, there's just so many recipes on the internet now. And I'll think of something, I'm like, surely no one's done this. And then there's something out there. And so that's getting a little more challenging as I'm trying to come up with new recipes still. But yeah.
How long does it take you from kind of notes in phone to perfecting the recipe?
Yeah.
So for like a new idea, like let's say for this year, you're coming up with a new version of a latke. From the idea to trying it out to perfecting, how long does that process usually
take? It depends. Like latke, I've made so many latkes over the years, so I feel very comfortable like making latkes. So it depends on how complicated the twist is. Like I tried to do an eggplant parmesan, or maybe it was like something eggplant parmesan latke. I tried to do that, and I could not figure out how to get it so the latke wasn't mushy. I tried different things, so I just gave up on that. But I tried like 3 or 4 times, and I'm like, this isn't working. So sometimes, especially with baking too, you're like, if I add a little more sugar, or if I bake it a little longer, it changes the recipe. Those are more complicated than like if I'm doing a dip or a salad. So it depends on the recipe. Luckily, it kind of goes back to like that technique, you're like, if it's not working, you're like, why, what's not working, and why, how can I improve this, or can I improve it? Or it's just like not a good concept. Like when I did the fried pickle latke, I think the first time the inside was like a little soggy. So I coated it I dried off the pickles and coated it in some potato starch, and then that like cured it. So it had a little like extra protective layer on the pickle. So I think, sometimes it takes me just like 2 times, then I'll make it one more time. I did for Food Network, I made these mozzarella sticks. They were like mozzarella sticks, but with like matzo meal on the outside. And those I probably made like 10 times because I just I could not, they were fine. And then I was like, I need to perfect it. It was like too much coating. Yeah. And then the right temperature, because the mozzarella would leak out, but like sometimes it wouldn't, and I want it to be those were driving me crazy. But so it depends on the recipe.
Those sound really good, mozzarella.
Yeah. I like a good pun.
But you said your husband and you lived in Puerto Rico. How did that happen, and what was it like living in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, we loved living there. So I had moved. So I lived in Austin, Texas. I lived there for over 7 years after New York. And then I was just like running out of Jews to date in the whole state of Texas. I was like, all right, I kept expanding my J swipe radius, and I'm like, all right, I'm like basically in Oklahoma now. Like, what am I going to do? So my brother was living in San Francisco. And at that point we had owned Modern Tribe just for like a year, maybe not even a year. And my roommate was moving in with her girlfriend. So I was like, all right, I need to move basically. So I was like, if I'm going to move, I might as well just like move to another state. So I moved to San Francisco. I got to work with my brother on Modern Tribe in person more. And then I met my now husband, 6 months later. And right after we met, he had an opportunity to move to Puerto Rico for work. And he's like, I won't go unless you want to come with me. And I said, let's do it. So we moved to Puerto Rico, and we lived there. I guess it were 2.5 years, maybe 3 years. So we moved there. We loved it, especially initially before the pandemic. We just met some really good friends. We explored the island. The food's amazing. The people are nice. We lived on the beach. The weather was warm. We had a ton of visitors. The pandemic was obviously terrible for everyone, so that was kind of a bummer. And then he got a different job opportunity, so we moved back to San Francisco. And so now we're back here. But
what a unique experience.
It was great. And it was a good, like we like moved in together, had to like buy furniture together, like in Spanish, it was definitely like, all right, this is like a make or break kind of situation. And luckily it was a really great bonding experience, and we just got close really fast.
Was the language barrier a big problem, or did a lot of people speak English, or did you guys have to learn?
Yeah, I speak some Spanish. So I could like get by with speaking Spanish. We lived in San Juan, like a lot of people spoke English, but then you'd go to, smaller towns and people spoke Spanish. My husband got fluent in food words. Like he would just like, he knew more food words than I did. He just like knew every food word. So we were no problem at a restaurant. But he has a really good memory for food. So by the end, like his Spanish was getting better too by the time we left, and mine also was like improving, that I could like have a conversation in Spanish. But you get by too.
So your first cookbook, Sweet Noshings, New Twists on Traditional Jewish Desserts, came out in 2016. What inspired you to write this book, and why did you specifically choose desserts?
So the desserts thing was kind of cookbook beshert, I guess. Like I grew up more baking with my mom and my bubby. So like rugula was probably the first thing we made. We made a lot of mandel bread, the apple cake for Rosh Hashanah. So we definitely had cooking, but I definitely have fond memories of baking. And I had a few cookbook opportunities that like kind of came and like disappeared, and it was like kind of a stressful time. And then the publisher approached me about doing this cookbook, and it just seemed like the perfect kind of first cookbook since I started baking. And that's kind of how I grew to love Jewish food. So they wanted a cookbook on Jewish baking, and I said, I can do that for you, no problem.
Oh, fun. I love that it was sentimental and kind of nostalgic.
Yeah.
Well, did you do a whole book tour and get to meet people?
I did. Yeah, that was the best. It was a really good time. Like that came out right before I moved to San Francisco. So I was like single, had like I could do whatever I wanted to. So I went to, I think like 30 or 40 cities.
Wow.
From like Seattle to Berlin. And it was fun. I had met people that had been reading my blog since it started, people that I'd emailed with over the years. So like that was just like really fun and rewarding. It can get kind of lonely just being at your computer all day, talking to your internet friends. So this was like really like, oh yeah, these are like real people who like make my recipes and who have followed my journey. So it was really fun. So I did everything from like some cooking demos to cooking classes. I cooked for hundreds of people, and it was just everything was like different. So I spent time like arranging that, and that was just a really fun time in my life for sure.
You talked about meeting some of these people on your book tour, like everywhere from Berlin to the United States. Do you communicate a lot with your followers?
Yeah, I mean, definitely some people. There was one woman who she's Jewish, and her husband's she's not Jewish. Her husband is Jewish, and she made all my recipes for him, and she would email me and tell me how he liked them like every time. And like he doesn't like eggplant, and so she'd still make eggplant recipes, but she'd say like he liked it. Obviously, he doesn't love eggplant, but he said for eggplant it was pretty good. I'm like, you don't have to make him that non-eggplant ones. And she said she had made my noodle kugel for her mother-in-law, who said it was good. And she was like, she's never complimented my cooking ever, So some people, email me regularly, either with comments or questions, and on social media, people will like tag me, in their recipes. So, they become kind of like friends, you don't like talk all the time, but you have these kind of like online relationships.
You're brokering relationships between non-Jewish daughter-in-laws and Jewish mother-in-laws.
Oh yeah, try. Everyone should get along. Yeah,
it's true.
But of course, at the time I was single too, and everyone was like, "Are you dating anyone?" Like, I know someone. I was like, "No, I'm good."
Thank you. You're like, no.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone like me who does not have a lot of experience in the kitchen but wants to learn and especially get creative with food? Because I will do things like buy cookbooks and I'll follow them. And my husband's always like, you don't need to take it so literally, but specifically for someone who wants to get a little more creative and try to combine different things the way that your recipes do.
Yeah, I think a question I always get is someone's like, this recipe has cilantro in it. I don't like cilantro. What do I do? And I'm like, don't use the cilantro. So I think like, don't take a recipe as you have to include every single step. But if it's something like baking, there's like, you can't just like, someone's like, I left the sugar out and it didn't work. I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna work. So to kind of, I think not take it so seriously, because it's just food. Like if you burn the whole thing, you can just order pizza. It's not a big deal. So not worry about it too much. And then maybe pick like a recipe or two and get very comfortable with it. Like latkes. Mm-hmm. Latkes are easy. It's a little intimidating because it's frying, but it's not deep frying. And then once you get comfortable with latkes, you can think like, oh, maybe I could put something stuffed in here, or I can like experiment with different toppings, or I could try different vegetables besides potatoes. So I think once you like get comfortable with a recipe, then I would do that first and then take some liberties with tweaking it. But there's literally no shame in following a recipe to the T. You don't have to go crazy with the recipes, or you can follow one of my recipes that I went crazy for you, and you can still follow the recipe and make it a little creative.
Do you think with certain things, like for people who don't like certain ingredients, sometimes it changes what is the word? Like it compromises the whole recipe? I know there's certain.
It depends on the recipe. If it's maybe I made like a taco inspired latke and I topped it with cilantro. If you don't like cilantro, definitely don't do cilantro. You could do green onions, or don't do anything, or do parsley, or whatever you want. So I think it depends on the ingredient, but if it's something you don't like, don't do it. But sometimes a recipe too, it's like, I'm making an eggplant and they're like, I don't like eggplant. They're like, what should I do? I'm like, do not make this recipe. The main ingredient's eggplant. Like maybe it could work with zucchini or something, for example, but I'm like, pick a different recipe. Don't do this one. Yeah.
With Halloween coming up, Halloween, as you call it, I love on your Instagram all your costumes that are food themed. They're so adorable and so fun. Do you make these yourself?
Yes, I love theme parties. I love Halloween. Obviously the least Jewish holiday of all the holidays, but besides Christmas, maybe. I don't know. But I don't know. I think I guess the first one I made was the bagel. And then I just was like, I'm just going to do this every year. So I make them all. One of my life goals, which is a very achievable goal, is to learn how to sew. So everything now is put together by like hot glue and a prayer, So I don't think, but once I can sew, it's game over. Like it's going to be life changing for my costumes.
Sewing is actually not as difficult as you think it is. I
don't think it is either. I just need to like get my act together and like take a class, or I can sew like a button, but I can't, I've so my challah, which actually is over here. I did some hand sewing on that. So I'll show you that if you want to see
it. Yeah. I love anything challah related.
Yeah.
I got yelled at.
Actually, I can't reach it because my headphones. Okay. But one second.
Take your time.
Okay, I'm back here.
So
this is my challah. So this I actually did sew. I just like it's like white fabric, and I stuffed them I stuffed it as I was braiding, and then I sewed kind of the back to make like a tube. But I just hand sewed them.
Probably harder to braid a wearable challah than a real challah.
Yes, I'd say this was harder because I was kind of stuffing it as I was going too. So
I love anything challah related.
Yeah, so it was Halloween. That was a costume I've always wanted to do. So 2 years ago I did it. Last year I was like very pregnant, so I was matzo ball soup. So I made the bump was the matzo ball, and then I made a paper mache soup bowl. So I always make probably my easiest costume, which is one everyone thinks is the best, is I was flying somewhere for Halloween. So I had to like have a costume I could either bring with me or make like right when I got there. So I was a black and white cookie. I just took like poster board. Anyone can copy this. You can have this idea. So I just took a poster board and painted half black, half white. And then I took another one, did the same. And then I think I did like just like tape with duct tape to make straps. Everyone's like, oh my God. It took me like an hour to make that one at most. And then I like to make a little headpiece. So that one said, look to the cookie. And then I carried around a plate of black and white cookies. So that was an easy one.
Do you already have your costume planned for this year?
Yes, this year I've been very busy with like a newborn. So we have 2 costumes. So I wanted a costume that she really likes. She's very into flowers, which obviously is not a Jewish thing. So we're going to be flowers for trick-or-treating. But then I have one, I want to do a Jewish one too. So I have a Jewish one I'm working on as well, which is a simple one because this year I'm just busy.
It's the things that I used to just find time to do, like read or watch television.
I don't even know what I used to do with all my free time. Yeah, I had a few hours.
I know.
The other day, my husband took my daughter, so I was like home alone for a few hours, and I was like, "What do I do with my time?" Like I cleaned, I did some work, I watched The Bachelor, and I was like, "Now what do I do?" I don't know. I forget what I did with all my free time.
I have said the same thing. So you talked about theme parties. I am also a huge theme party person.
Yeah.
My daughter's first birthday her name is Alexandra. It was Alex in Wonderland.
Cute.
And her second birthday was too cute.
Cute.
I literally have bins of holiday decorations like in storage and stuff like that. What is your favorite theme party you've ever thrown?
Oh, that is a great question. So I've moved a lot, and my one regret is every time I move, I like don't bring my theme stuff, and I should have a lot more stuff. Probably the one that comes to mind was for my 30th birthday. I had a jardy, which is a jeans party. So everyone had to wear head to toe denim. And we got a party, which is like a pretty, like, I like a theme that's like doable. You know, if you're not a theme person, do you have jeans and a denim shirt? Probably. You're go to Goodwill and get a denim shirt. You're good to go. So obviously my outfit was much more complicated with like a fringe denim jacket and bustier, but like I had denim cowboy boots, but you could wear whatever. And I made denim koozies for everyone with like punny sayings on them. They said like Jardy, like a jock star, something, all jeans related. So that was fun. That was like a hard birthday because I was like 30 and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, it was definitely like, it's not a third life crisis or something, but it was also a very fun party. So that's a recent theme I really enjoyed.
I do like that you're like, what's accessible? I think a lot of people for theme parties, they get a little overwhelmed with the.
Yeah, I know not everyone's into it as much as I am. And I kind of joke, like, if you're not in theme, you can't come. But I'm like, I'm kind of serious about that too. So I was like, all right, this is my birthday. Just wear a pair of jeans. Like this is an easy theme. But like some people went way over the top. Some people were like just in jeans, which was fine.
My husband was at this bar in LA. We were visiting my parents called Residuals, which if you've ever seen the show Barry it's on HBO. Oh, yeah. I think they go
I watched the first few seasons, and then it got really dark, and I'm like, oh, I don't know, I'm not into this anymore.
They go to Residuals. So he came home, and he tells me, he's like, this girl got up to sing karaoke and she looked like Shrek, so I had to leave. And I said, Patrick, that's really mean. And he doesn't say things about people's appearance. He goes, no, literally, she looked like Shrek. And I guess this girl had a Mike Myers themed party. And
oh my gosh.
So there were a bunch of like Waynes and Austin Powers and Shrek.
That's very creative.
Yes, very creative.
Yeah, people have gotten like very creative with the themes. Like I think I've seen other ones where it's like dress like different Mikes even or something. So you could be like, someone could be Mike Myers, someone could be like Michael Jordan. I don't even know. So there's,
I see a lot of dressed like the bride bachelorette parties.
Oh, I've seen that too. Like, yeah. On TikTok. Are you on TikTok? I feel like people on TikTok do that.
I'm not on TikTok, but I get a lot of
save your time. Yeah.
I've decided that it's a rabbit hole I don't need to go down.
You don't.
I also saw one that was dressed up like different types of grandmas for bachelorette parties.
Oh,
so it
that's
was like,
funny.
There's like the coastal themed grandmother, and they came up like grandma names and stuff. And I just love
the opposite of like dressing sexy.
Yes, I think it comes from me. As an actor, my favorite day when I did a show was always the first day we were in costumes. So I feel like it just kind of comes from I love costumes, and I'm very excited about anything where I can dress up in a costume.
Me too. I think so too. It just makes it's just a little more fun.
It's like elevated. Though we were just at Comic-Con, and I think people who cosplay, that I don't think I could do.
No, that's intense. That's intense. I think it's very serious too. I'm not that serious.
People who make like literal superhero costumes that probably weigh a lot, and they have to walk around in it all day. And I think it's the kind of thing that sounds really fun, but after about 15 minutes, you're kind of like, no, I don't want to wear a jetpack anymore.
Yeah, no, most of my costumes involve spandex, and they're comfortable and like stretchy. Like I always yeah, I've purchased the same unitard from Amazon in different colors like 6 times, so it's definitely unitard related.
Unitards are very comfortable.
Yeah.
So talking of theme parties, I want to talk about your bat mitzvah.
Oh, yes.
I have seen pictures on Instagram, and I feel like all millennial girls wore similar suits to their services.
Why was that a thing? Why I remember when I saw more modern day bat mitzvahs, and it struck me that they weren't wearing suits. I was like, how? I was like, that's so unprofessional. I was like, wait, do you have to wear a suit to synagogue? Like I would wear like growing up too, I'd wear suits to synagogue for the high holidays. Yep. I remember when I came home from college, I had this like black pantsuit that I thought was which was sleek. It was like fancier than I dress now. And I wore that with like a red clutch. And I was like, oh, this is my Rosh Hashanah outfit. Suits were the thing for sure. So yeah, mine was a baby blue.
My sister and my mom had a whole fight about her and the suit because she didn't want to wear it. It's, if you saw the You're So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah, that whole scene.
I didn't see that. I need to see it.
There's a whole scene where they're trying on outfits and they get into a fight. My sister and I saw it. I was at home when we watched it. We were like crying. It was so funny. So you're saying you wore a baby blue suit?
Yeah, mine was baby blue and Taylor suit. And I had matching baby blue nails, which was not like, it wasn't a thing is to have like different colored nails as much during that. This was like before even hard candy was a thing. So if you had that, but this was like just before the nail art trend. So I like to think I started that. I remember to my cousin's bat mitzvah, I had a suit that was, the top was half hot pink, half white. And the bottom was the opposite, like half white, half hot pink. And then I wore a giant hot pink bow that I would like definitely wear this outfit today. It was very stylish. So that was my outfit for my party. I got an outfit that honestly I also still wear. So I have it here. Like this wasn't planned. I can reach it. This was the top. So I haven't grown since 5th grade. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's amazing you can fit into your bat mitzvah stuff." And I was like, "No, I was like a chubby 5'2", like 12 years. You know, I'm the same. Like I was like so skinny then or anything. Like I'm like, no, I'm basically the same size." So this says, you can see like it's black velvet with rhinestones, and then I don't know where the skirt's somewhere over here. And it's a hot pink taffeta skirt. And so I remember I picked this out at like one of those stores, you know, that had like all the fancy, you have to like go in person before online shopping. And like, it was like a wedding dress store, but they also had like prom and stuff. And this was 90% off. My mom, and it was still like $100 for this outfit. My mom's like, "That's hideous. Like you have to use your babysitting money if you want this." She's like, "You're going to regret it." Oh yeah, here's the skirt. She's like, "You're going to regret it. But this is like, you know, not a timeless look." And I'm like, why? I don't care about being timeless. This is what I want to wear. And I still don't care about being timeless. Oh yeah, this is the skirt.
Ooh.
So I still wear it. It's still cute. And my wedding dress was pink. So I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
So she has since apologized. She's like, "You were always who you were. You're right." So that was my party. That was my party look.
Did you have a theme?
My theme was candy. So I had like M&M, what do you call it? Like just like kind of like gumball machine, but they're M&M machines is the centerpiece. And then rainbow balloons, and then rainbow balloons on the dance floor. I remember being very upset because I wanted a rainbow. This is also very, I was maybe a little spoiled. It was a rainbow. I wanted a rainbow balloon arch, and they said I could get that, and then the ceilings were too low, so that at the end they just had like a little column, and I was like, I wanted balloons everywhere, but so I was a little upset about that at the time. And so the gifts, people like the favors, I gave everyone Beanie Babies and with a little candy kind of box attached to it. And some of these Beanie Babies, if you still have them with the tag, are worth a lot of money. I gave all the boys tie-dye dinosaurs, which are apparently rare. Back to dinosaurs.
Yes.
Full circle. But apparently those are rare ones. So if you kept that one for my bat mitzvah with the tag in place, that was a good investment coming to my bat mitzvah.
I'm obsessed with people's bat mitzvah themes. I wish that people were more.
Yes, I know. So I post about my bat mitzvah every year, and I ask people what their themes were, and I read all the comments. I love seeing what the themes were, and you know, people way older than me to people who are having their bat mitzvahs today. It's just like people are still doing themes, which I love.
Wonder when the themes started, because I feel like I've talked to people of my parents' generation. They're like, our theme was being Jewish.
Yeah, I don't even think they didn't have like a party. So probably something around the parties got out of control, like especially in the 90s. This was like peak like consumerism, I think. Like, or, you know, or like, of course, you know, people growing up in Connecticut, people would like bring in dancers from New York because you wanted the best dancers at your party. Like, what? Like, that seems crazy now, but I didn't do that, but I went to ones where they did.
So I know you welcomed your daughter at the end of last year. How has becoming a mother changed how you feel about being Jewish, if it has at all? And what traditions do you hope to pass on to her?
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved celebrating the Jewish holidays. I think it's even a little more fun when you have kids. And, you know, in Modern Tribe, we have all this fun stuff for kids. I'm just excited when she's like old enough to be able to like play with the toys and the games. So I think it just, you know, I've always loved celebrating the holidays and of course being Jewish, but I think it kind of renews, you know, your excitement introducing this stuff to a child who's like, it's all new and exciting. So, you know, like she was born right before Hanukkah last year, so she was still a blob. So I just like put her on the floor and I made latkes. I was like, these are our first latkes. And I made Hanukkah cookies and stuff. So like this year though, I'm like, she could eat latkes and it's going to be like so fun. She'll like really start to understand what the holiday is a little bit too. So like my husband can blow the shofar. So he blew the shofar for Rosh Hashanah. So she was just like in awe of, you know, looking at, she obviously loves her dad too. So just like seeing him, like, she's like, what's Dada doing? You know? So I think the older she gets, the more fun the holidays are even going to be too. Just like, kind of like anything, just seeing them through seeing things through a children's eyes is like, just kind of inspiring and makes life a little more fun. So I think, you know, having the Jewish holidays with her is going to just even be more exciting too.
I can say from experience, as they get older, it does get more fun.
Yes. Yeah. So she's almost a year now. And just like every day she just grows and changes and it's like so fun to watch. So I'm excited.
Enjoy it. It goes so quick.
This year went crazy. No, no, but this year went so fast. And I'm trying to like be in the moment too. And I'm like, you're growing so fast, and like trying to enjoy the, the little things. But then it's also so exciting seeing her learn new things. It's no one totally, you can't totally warn someone, but no one totally prepares you for like the mental mind games of like being a new parent. They warn you about like others, it's like, oh, you're going to lose sleep and like, this and this. And it's just like emotionally a very hard thing, I think.
It's constant. It's constant. Especially with everything that's going on right now. I feel like I've kind of read things about like, there's a lot of things about being Jewish that are very sad. Like a lot of people focus on the sad, terrible things. But I think there's a lot of joy in being Jewish. I think that there can be a lot of joy. So talking about like Jewish joy, what are things that you find joyous about being Jewish?
Yeah, I think that's something that's always been important to both my brands, is like finding the joy in being Jewish. And even in like, if you look, a lot of Jewish stuff is like navy and like dark and like steadily, it's just like, It just comes, there's a lot of sadness about being Jewish. And I think, of course, we have to acknowledge our history and our present, and it's all, never ending. But, you have to take time to, what's the point in all these sacrifices if you don't appreciate all there is about being Jewish? So, I mean, I love the holidays, the food, of course. Something that's always cool to me is when, cool is not the right word, but whenever there's an uptick in anti-Semitism, people buy more Jewish jewelry. And I just love the community aspect of being Jewish, kind of like the club. You say something to someone who's Jewish and they get it. You're in this like kind of club of similar humor and similar shtick and similar, experiences. So I love that. I love the holidays. I love the food. I love the rituals. I think our traditions. So I used to host a Seder. I started in college, but I didn't go home for Passover. And then when I lived in Texas, I hosted Seders. So I started doing Seders like every year. I did all the cooking. I wrote my own Haggadah, and I invited people of like all religions. And everyone's like, I remember when I moved out of Texas, my friend was like, "Where are we going to do Passover?" And I was like, "You're not Jewish. Like, you don't have to do Passover." And like, but I was like, they really enjoyed the rituals and thought that it was a fun holiday to participate in. So that's very meaningful and important to me too.
I think it's interesting you say there's an uptick in buying Jewish jewelry when there's a lot of anti-Semitism going around, because one of the first things my mother mentioned to me 2 weeks ago was not to wear jewelry. So I feel like some people become very afraid, but I think, you're right. There are some people who that it kind of almost makes them want to double down in their Jewishness.
Yeah, I think to show your pride for sure. And some people like, we've sold more of this challah necklace, which is a little more subtle way of being Jewish. I don't think not everyone would even know what it was. We have another necklace, which is interesting. It's a Star of David, like fake diamond necklace, and then it expands and it looks like a bunch of butterflies.
I've seen.
And the design first came from the Spanish Inquisition when people were hiding their Judaism, and it's kind of sad that people are buying that necklace and using it in the same way today. Wearing it outside as the butterflies, maybe when they're back home, putting it back together as a Star of David. So it's a cool necklace in that it represents history, but it's kind of just sad people are like feeling like they should be using it the same way today.
Do you guys plan on sending your daughter to Hebrew school and encouraging her to have a bat mitzvah?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, whatever, something, I've always been encouraged to be myself, my parents, except with my bat mitzvah outfit, but she apologized for that. But in general, yeah, our parents really encouraged me and my brother to be ourselves and find a religion in our own way. Like my brother they called him a bar mitzvah fadeaway, because after his bar mitzvah, he just was not interested in participating anymore. But now he does more stuff than even I do. Like he goes to a lot of Jewish events, and obviously we own the Judaica store together. So I think it's kind of like having her find her own path. When she's young, yes, we're going to send her to Hebrew school and Sunday school. And as she gets older, whatever kind of path she follows, we'll support.
All right. So this next section is done in the style of the Actors Studio. So just quick answers to kind of some fun questions. What is your favorite Yiddish word?
Oh, I love a lot of Yiddish words. Schlep.
What is your favorite Jewish holiday?
Passover, definitely. I love the food.
If you were to have a bat mitzvah today, what would the theme be?
Unicorns and glitter.
What profession other than your own would you want to attempt?
I've always loved clothing and design. I'd love to be a designer. But once I learn how to sew.
If heaven is real and God is there to welcome you, what would you like to hear him say?
Well, maybe God's a woman, and I'd like to say the buffet is open. Hopefully, there's a lot of good food in heaven.
I hope so too. Is there anything else that you think anybody listening should know about Modern Tribe, about what you want to eat, about you?
Well, you've asked very thoughtful questions. I feel like out of any interview I've done, I was like, oh, she definitely like looked at my website. It's like
that's actually really surprising to me.
Yeah, no, they were very thoughtful questions, and I think you definitely did your research, so I appreciate that. It made me excited to talk to you because I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun, and she definitely has put some effort into this. So I'm
trying my best every day.
You did great. I think I talked a lot, so I can always, people can. If anyone has any questions about Judaica or food, I'm very accessible on the internet. Amy at whatyouwantoeat.com or Amy at moderntribe.com, or message me on Instagram or anything like that. But I think I always like to reiterate to people that they're Jewish enough, and whatever they do and whatever they feel comfortable doing is the perfect amount of Judaism, and it can change. You can be more observant at times in your life and less observant, and if you fade away from celebrating Jewish holidays, you're always welcome back.
Do you have some sort of discount code for first-time Modern Tribe buyers that I can share?
Yes, we have. So if you sign up for our email, you get this code, but I'll just give it to you anyway. It's I am new in all capitals.
So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
Of course, thank you. This was fun.
So great to get to know you. And again, if you're interested in checking Amy's blog out, it's What You Want to Eat, and of course, visit Modern Tribe. If you like what you hear and want to hear more of it, you can subscribe and also follow me on Instagram at Shebrew in the City to see what my life is like day to day. I'm also on Patreon if you'd like to have access to some special episodes and offers.